Hey there, boys and girls. It's Fog. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's the day before Christmas. And I got a comment in my comment stream that I thought I should respond to. It says, hey, Fog, can you direct me to a video where you explain sorting systems? I haven't watched since like September or so, so if you can direct me to your sorting system video or the video you learned this from, that'd be great. Sign, the Iron Block. Well, Mr. Block, I'll do you one better. I'll do you a video just to explain the sorting systems I use. How's that? Does that work? All right. So this here is the heart of my favorite sorting system, and it demonstrates pretty much how these things work. They all work on the principle that hoppers can be locked so that they only let certain items through. And this top one is your sorter. And the bottom one just feeds into a chest. This torch right here powers this block, which locks this hopper. And when this fills up to a certain amount, then the redstone here lights up far enough, because the more full these hoppers get, the longer the redstone lights up. And these hoppers will light up long enough so that this one will turn on, which will turn off that light, or that torch there, which will let items through. So ordinarily you'd put some sort of item here that you don't want to sort, and then you put a bunch of items here that you do want it to sort. And this hopper, now that it's got those things in it, will only match anything here or here that's already in it. And this has to grow to a certain number of items before it will begin sorting items. So the nice thing about this system is you can stack it infinitely, and the way you get items to it is up to you. You can do anything you want to. You can lay a row of hoppers around across the top of these things that will pass the items across and then just pull items down when they match. Or you can do what I've done here, which is use a water stream. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of that for a second. But first of all, when you build this, this is exactly how you build it right here. And you need to make sure that this hopper right here does not point down into that hopper. It has to point off into nothing. And the easiest way I've found to do that is to place your comparator right here, and then place your hopper so that it points into the comparator. And that way, it all just works. So let's go ahead and take a look at this system over here. This is a very simple system for sorting colored wool. And you can see here, these are our sorters. I've used a block that I've named using an anvil, so that I've given it a custom name so that nothing that I have normally in my inventory could possibly match that. It's really important that nothing match this, because if you start matching these things, then these items will start draining. And eventually you'll get to the point where your blocker items will start to drain, or this empties. And if that happens, then you're kind of screwed, because it's going to stop sorting the item that you want it to sort. But obviously, that's not going to happen with this system because we've done it right. Also, a nice thing about this system here is that it actually has overflow protection. What overflow protection means is as these hoppers back up, this can start to fill up. And if you ever get into a situation where this guy can hold too many items and the signal out here gets too strong, if this signal ever carries over into that block, then it will begin draining the items in this hopper, and that will eventually mess up your sorter and cause it to break. So you need overflow protection. You need this thing to not be able to fill up so far that it cascades over into adjacent items. The other thing to be concerned about with sorting systems like this is they only sort stackables. So what we have here is a water stream that's feeding over the top of these hoppers, but rather than move the items directly over the hoppers, what we're doing is we're using the fact that these ender chests have a slightly smaller hitbox than a normal block. So any item that comes down this water stream is going to push into this chest and be halfway into this block, well, not halfway, but partially into this block, and partially in this block as well. But mostly it'll be on this block, which has an ice block running underneath it so that they run very, very quickly. The downside to a system that moves this quickly is that if you overload it with items, then occasionally you can skip a sorter. So just be aware that if you run items in here too quickly, you may skip a sorter from time to time. So be aware of that. The alternative to doing this would be to pull the water stream over to here with a regular block behind it so that the items come along, hit the far side of here, and then drift directly over the back rim of these hoppers. And the reason you want it to come back over the rim is that if it goes down the middle, then these hoppers actually have like a divot in them. And here, I'll show you what I mean. If I lay out a string of hoppers like this and I walk over the top of them, you'll notice that I can sometimes, yeah, there you go, I can sometimes fall into the hoppers. And if you fall into the hoppers, if the items fall into the hoppers, they'll bounce. The water stream will push them along and they'll bounce from hopper to hopper, and you can occasionally skip a hopper because you've bounced right over it. So you need to make sure that you push it far enough into the side that it always rides along the edge of the hopper so that it doesn't bounce. And like I said, the last alternative to the water streams is you can just lay a string of hoppers across the top. You can just do something like this, where you've got a hopper over here, and then you just run a bunch of hoppers into it like this, right across the top of the sorters, and it will pull directly from the hoppers whenever there's a match. The nice thing about doing that is you don't have to worry about how fast you feed it. You can feed it as fast as you want. The hoppers will be self-regulating, and you'll never pass up one of the sorters that way. So, you know, it's trades, right? Sometimes, sometimes one thing's better, sometimes another. But let's go ahead and see this in action. I'm going to put a bunch of items in here, and we're going to let it run. And you can see that it's already starting to pick things out. The nice thing about doing the raceway with the packed ice like this is that you can just keep running these things infinitely right beside one another. You don't have to place any gaps because these guys are actually running over the ice. So right there, they have enough momentum to just skirt across the ice. They'll actually go several blocks over that ice, so I didn't even really need to put water here. I could have put it a couple of blocks away and it still would have worked. But this works great. And this will go just as far as you want it to go. And you can see that it does a great job of sorting this stuff. So this is going to be our overflow out here. And you can see that we're already starting to sort these things. And it just works perfectly. So anyway, there you are. That is a little synopsis of sorting technology. So there are many other different sorting systems out there, and I've used several of them in my world, but really at this point in the game, this is the only one I would ever use going forward because frankly it's perfect. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll be back next Monday with our regular videos. So talk to you later. Bye bye.